Okay, so we're gonna have a quick discussion of what the hell is going on right here. So I have this documented. I'm on my floor. I had plans today to be in a new vibe with some new work and working definitely in a very different angle and really stepping out in my own business, etc. And somehow this morning I'm torpedoed in my own body and I'm feeling like, wow, shit, I've been hijacked by my own body. What kind of crap is this? It does happen sometimes. Neurodivergent spiritual worker. Sometimes I get slapped with weird energy that just feels bizarre in my body, and it's going to take it a minute to let me help that shit right out the door because that doesn't feel good. And I have my own past that my body remembers and reminds me of sometimes. And so there's still somatic work always to be doing and things to reset my own nervous system. However, when there's weird shit happening, which it's weird shit central, at my house, sometimes it was this morning, but it's been intense since the solar eclipse. Excuse me, it's been quite intense, and we've had a lot of conjunctions in outer space and 3i Atlas, etc., all this stuff. So it's the time, and I understand this. However, it still is really gross and feels nasty to me that I'm on my floor puking. My cat starts puking, and I get a text. I have to tell the person that I'm working with, my partner, like, oh yeah, hey, so I know you're doing your thing today, except girl, I'm gonna be over here on my floor, pretending like I'm being held back by some really nasty force that wants me to puke up and have the purge out of my body, apparently, right now. That I look around and I see that she's sending me a text saying that a person that's been swirling around in our lives peripherally. Now, this person and I have not been tight for the full time that we've known each other. We've kind of circulated in the work we do, and we finally got tired of doing it over there with all the fuckery and buffoonery and lying and just gross, nasty energies that are ill-principled. That's all. However, she and I decided we're going to do our own shtick over here. Well, that's all groovy and stuff, except that over there apparently has feelings about it, and there's a couple of them that just kind of swirl between, in the different groups where they're hoping they can land since things kind of broke up over there. Like, well, you're not welcome here if you already weren't invited over to this newer space with newer ideas and newer energy, and definitely not tied to that karmic weight, that drag bag over there. Then if you haven't already made it or you haven't been invited, you're probably not welcome. And this person's been quietly quitted a few times. Like, we're trying to gently let you out. And I start puking. My cat's puking. I immediately go into, what the hell, that it started coming up over me the minute I was going to leave. And so I reach out to my friend and let her know, hey, I'm not going to make it, girl. I'm over here purging up the devil, apparently. I don't know what the fuck's happening, but my cat's involved. I got to stay here. Don't drive. And she sends me a message and says, oh yeah, that person, the last transmission in the other group, like, is that what I'm over here doing? And suddenly I'm not puking anymore. However, I am still on my floor because I am resting my nervous system after having, taken on somebody else's overwhelming baggage of bullshit, and I can't get my way. That visited my house as a spare energy exchange somewhere that, for whatever reason, oh, I know, I'm sorry, I do know the reason, that I could actually co-regulate with my cat to, be working energy to calm my own system. And I was directing it to him too, because he came out from under the bed where I'm laying and like started horking right next to me. Like, wow, well, I'm working my own stuff, then let me wrap him in to this energy as well and start directing some, in a circle to get this shit out of here, whatever it is. However, finding out that my cat, for real, that's how energy works. And dark people who work in dark ways, or dark energy that uses open vessels that are desperate for attention, desperate for validation, desperate to be given a fucking Scooby snack, those are the prime people that they may be okay enough folks that on their very own, they wouldn't come up with all that sidewinding weird shit that makes people like me and my friends uncomfortable as fuck. However, once they become embodied with the spare shit that flies around when it's not getting its way, and they also in their shallow existence as a human being are also not getting their way, they get pissy and they start sidewinding and doing all kinds of stuff. And yet the human out here that's a vessel for that mess, they may or may not know. I doubt this dude has any idea that, you've changed. Something drastically changed about you, and nobody wants anything peripherally to do with you. And we all, aren't keeping up with one another. I had no idea. I just split off and went, I feel really uncomfortable with that, and moved on. And I had no idea that everybody else did the same. So apparently the commonality of everybody abandoning, and teaming up elsewhere left a bunch on that side, and you're the consistent thing, that likes to travel between the two. And you may not bring the karmic fuckery and the buffoonery and all that dark shit as somebody who's just wide open for the experience because you want something. When we can't stand up in our sovereignty, we become basically vessels for shit that can. And sovereignty as a dark worker, they think they have it. However, they're getting what they want in the 3D, so their 3D sovereignty is established. Mine isn't. I'm on the floor puking. However, my energetic sovereignty is well established, that once I got that shit all figured out, oh yeah, I'm fixing to tear some stuff up. That, no, break this stuff off, move it off, get it away from me. And whatever the energy space is doing, I'm not after the person. I can give a shit about the person. I care about what I'm seeing and feeling in that energy space that's out there sidewinding and angry, because there are people waking up. They don't want to be a bitch to the system. They don't want to, obtain Scooby snacks in stupid places. The place where I get my Scooby snack is not from humans. It's from, I nourish myself with something else, because coming out here and demanding to be seen and keep finding all the punk ass ways that we do that, either by I demand literally, or I cajole, I bribe, I make myself so valuable, I slob in on whatever way I can, and anybody that wasn't a bully, suddenly they're becoming, more bully-esque. And, anybody that was a bully, they just keep intensifying, just how unprincipled they're willing to be. And so people have no idea. You don't have to be a dark worker. You don't have to be a magician. You don't have to know shit about any of it. However, it sure would be good, if people did understand that free energy running around that doesn't have a place to land and it's looking, it could be directed to come right over to wherever. And I doubt there's anybody sitting around saying, let me see if I can torpedo Kate. There's definitely, specifically, there's probably, some fans of mine from my past individually that would. However, this particular situation that's more relevant and more current, that bags up anybody's hate from, anywhere that I would have ever known anyway, or whatever, because it's a whole energetic field of all this shit is going. Doesn't matter if it was directed at me, or if it was the hate for, your grandma, or whatever the hell it was, or you hate your job, or you're conflicted in your sexuality, or whatever. That's none of it matters, because it's all the same bandwidth of bullshit. And so it's all leaving, and as places are being kind of exploded and disrupted with the motherfucking truth, all of that energy that breaks into the fractals to start looking for a place to land, and they find some host agent who's going, please accept me, I insist that you let me in here, I'm invaluable, can't you see? Oh my God. And then I'm on my floor suddenly puking when I got shit to do, some other place to be, and something more important as my priority than worrying about the butthurt of a system that, it's a system, dude. You're a sentient being run by a system, and you have no idea, because you're busy, too busy to hear at least one light worker, possibly a whole bevy in this situation, and people saying, this is really kind of untoward, this behavior. And after a certain point, you just cut out and you go, okay, slow learner or no learner. Fuck slow learner. This is a no learner. This is not remedial education. It's zero education. I want nothing, because I've reached a plateau where I feel very, very free to move about the cabin and do what I want to. Yeah, except that it's not the turn seatbelt sign really wasn't on, or off. It really was, have a seat and notice where you are, before you start getting up and, moving around freely to make decisions and do shit. You don't have the authority in spiritual ranking nor the sovereignty that you think you do just because it looks like it down here and we have all this, no, those are going into energetic spaces where the veil is just freaking gone. People can tap into the spooky without even thinking about it. I mean, it's right here. And if you want to tap into, the more positive or the higher vibrational stuff, you certainly can. However, we're geared and preset to already, be grungy. And so we're already open for invitation to that stuff to find a place, because the human ego is a treacherous little minefield. And if you haven't done that work, this dude didn't want to hear anything about it. He just wanted his, my goody two shoes experience, which is great, except now that gives me the authority to, I'm enlightened and I know everything. You don't know enough to say you're enlightened and start pushing other people around energetically where you're showing up as a face. In my mind, oh shit, that means you formed up and agreed enough that you allowed that shit to imprint somewhere where I could see a human form with it. That does happen. That is part of my skill. However, mostly I see patterns. And I see energetic shit in like musical stuff. It's not, actual people. It's usually energies, bandwidth, color, something. And I just have an impression of it. This dude, whole flying in, whole entire individual, and like, along with a bunch of other individual faces that just kind of usually come as a clump for me of the last bit of that fuckery. The buffoonery needs a hand out the door. 1122, allow me to be the bitch to show you to the door yet again. However, damn, I am glad, of course, that it happened, because the skill that I learned, there's no way this shit's coming in and landing somewhere unless I'm going to get something out of it. So if I just lie on my floor and go, no, the gift I got out of that is understanding that, oh no, the same energy source that's going to regulate me and my pukey. I went from horking my guts up just a few minutes ago with my cat joining me. After the first 10 minutes, he let me ride on that one all by myself, and then he came for the encore. That he came out and started choking, which is not completely unusual for him. So, I mean, he has some issues, and so that's part of his thing. But usually when I see that happen, I'm doing some energy work just for him. Never tried co-regulating that or co-moving that or collaborating that energy to, if it's healing me, energy is endless and you can supercharge it and zap it with an extra little something. You're tapping into the universe. Fuck all the, shit in the way. Tapping into the universe, that means it's powerful enough that it can help me. And oh yeah, we're gonna need to bring him into the circle of healing here. This little 8 thing we got going, let's go ahead and spin him into this. And it did. And it regulated everything out. I still don't feel great. He's still here. But that's not the point. Point is, I learned what I needed to learn. And other people that are slow-ass motherfucking learners, man, makes me a little grumpy. When I get up off this floor and I actually make it to where I'm going and, can put myself together, which is happening very shortly. Feel my cat starting to move too. He's like, yeah, it's about that time. Then, I'll be back to my baseline, however, getting snatched off of it. You're not going to help me snatch myself up my baseline frequency without me grabbing exactly what the fuck I need to get out of this little gem experience and this clam down at the deep, dark bottom of what the fuck was that? Because I seriously thought I was having a heart attack or something. Like, oh my God, I've been crazy this whole time. There's really not all this stuff. I'm just nuts. Maybe I'm having a heart attack. And I'm thinking, I think I need to reach out, to a human person and let them know that I'm over here, at least not going to show up and manage to find out at the same time, miraculously, synchronistically, divinely, that, oh yeah, there's fuckery and buffoonery happening live, like right now. Like, oh, well then that would definitely confirm a few things of how shitty I feel and my cat was involved. And that the tool is installed because it's already been experientially used. Wow, nifty. Now I've just expanded my ability base to go from sudden, oh shit, to, yeah, I got this. That's the whole point. Expand the ability to go, yeah, I didn't have it. However, I got it now. I got the wheel now. I'm good. And when I didn't have that wheel, I'd let go of it quickly and say, how am I going to help you help me? I'm going to help you help me by letting go of this shit. I don't know what it is, and it's quite frankly frightening me a little bit. Oh, maybe you should reach out and let your partner know, yeah, my business partner know that, yeah, I'm not going to be there for a little while because I'm busy playing. Ew, feeble. But not for long. As a matter of fact, yeah, I feel it. Yeah, my shit, I got my naked pillow because I've got sheets in the wash. I mean, a whole Friday drill going on, and I'm getting my ass up off this floor. That no, I was down for a few minutes. It's about getting back up. It's not about the going down thing. I don't give a fuck about people's going down stories. Sometimes they're interesting. However, the more interesting part is, what's the getting up story? That's the one I want to know, because when I do, I look out my window. You can't see that. However, I can. Oh, there's my squirrel friend. Hi, squirrel friend. That's too bad. You can't see it. The mountains, Pikes Peak is out there in Tabo. Oh my God, the mountain speaks to me beautifully. So I'm going to take my crazy ass life, my crazy ass hair, and my crazy ass thoughts, and yeah, call them exactly what I know they are, which is the truth. So truth can be leveling sometimes. However, that's what truth does. It's ultimate balance. So believe I'm back to normal. Back to baseline. I'll take that. There's no such thing as normal. It's constantly evolving to something better.